From the latest at CARTA to hotel moratorium to the latest on the gathering place, City of Charleston Councilman Mike Seekings talks to me one-on-one for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. Mike, it's so good to see you.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Last
to see you too.
Absolutely. You know, last time I saw you was a week ago.
That's all.
Yeah. I was sitting across the street here at the old post office where I usually sit to eat lunch, whatever, people watch. And I know that you wanted me to interview you about CARTA.
I want to talk about CARTA, definitely.
And last night you had a very interesting city council meeting.
We did.
So describe to me the following one word, the gathering place.
It needs to be scrapped.
Sergeant Jasper.
A big challenge that we will overcome.
Whole Foods Market.
Good for West Ashley, missed opportunity downtown.
Hotel moratorium.
Unnecessary.
Tent City.
Misnamed and an issue that we have to address, and that is people who are not living in homes.
Let me address the obvious, CARTA. Last week you had a big meeting there.
Right.
From what I understand, ridership is down, but revenue's up.
CARTA is in a phase right now where we are going to put ourselves in a position to be the leader in public transportation in the Lowcountry. We are really focusing on our system, our systems, our fleet, which as you know is the oldest fleet in America, our routing, which was inefficient to say the least. We had lots of circular routes, very few two-way routes. So I think last week in our meeting of the board where we realigned the routes, again committed to putting monies towards capital improvements and the acquisition of buses was a real watershed moment for CARTA. The board came together, the public was with us, we didn't cut any routes, we made the routes much more efficient, and we, I think, made a statement that day that we are ready to really take CARTA to the next level, and I think if you look for the next 16, 18 months, you're going to see some vast improvements in the manner in which we do business, both in terms of our routing, our customer service, the manner in which we bring the product to the market, and new buses.
And so you said the public's with you, but let's talk about those people who are basically saying, hey, save our services. What's your message to them?
Well, as you know, our ridership is down a little bit. It's not down a lot. If you look at the routing, it's actually about flat. We have over 5 million riders a year. And when it all came down to the end on our realignment of the system, I think 3 people spoke about it. Maybe 2 were against anything we were doing, and in the end we had consensus. So if you take 5 million and only 2 think that what you're doing isn't right, we're doing a pretty good job.
And let's stay on transportation because, as you know, last week I-526 came up again.
It did.
Charleston County has come up with $300 million soon to expand that. When you think of I-526, Mike, what goes to your mind?
I think that's code, not road. What 526 is code for is transportation needs in the Lowcountry globally. I mean, you're looking at the 526 extension, the existing 526 corridor, the I-26 corridor, this alt I-26 study. We have so many needs that I think actually we need to take our focus off one single project and say, look, what do we have in the Lowcountry in terms of a transportation system? What works and what doesn't? Unfortunately, more doesn't than does. And we have to take a 10,000-foot approach to it, look and see where we are, what our priorities are, and what can we do now?
Sure.
The problem with 526 is this. Even if there was consensus about building it and where the money was coming from, you're still looking at 10 years before it's online. We can't wait 10 years for relief in certain areas, particularly going across the James Island Collector into James Island. Right. Maine and 17, we have to have relief there. That whole corridor out to Johns Island, we need to have relief. I-26 needs relief. So if we're sitting around talking about a project that on its best day is 10 years out and on its worst day may never be built, we're not thinking right. So I would suggest that as we talk about 526, it has to be in connection with everything else in terms of transportation, including roads and what we put on those roads, which means public transportation.
Absolutely. Councilman Mike Seekings, thank you so much for your time as always.
Right, thank you very much.
I appreciate this.
Thank you.
Thank you.